Well, good evening. We want to welcome you to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman.
Good evening.
And we are so excited to be sharing with you guys on this Tuesday, August the 1st, 2017. I tell you, it's just going to be such an awesome program on this evening. So before we get started, listen, you want to get on that phone, get that text out, that email out, call a neighbor, call a friend. Let them know that In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman is on. And I tell you, you will not be disappointed on this evening. We're just so excited. We've just been in expectation of this month, August. August is going to be a phenomenal month sharing with In the Blender. Some topics we're going to discuss, some things we're going to discuss as it relates to the blended family. Some things you haven't really heard us talk about quite as much as you probably would like to have heard us talk about. But we just been getting emails and texts, and different people been coming up to us. And so we decided that we want to just hit some topics that may, be on the minds of the people. And so, again, we're just excited. Today we're going to be talking about, you ready? We're going to be talking about deal breakers versus things that break the deal.
And tell them where they came from, though.
We're going to be talking about deal breakers versus things that break the deal. Where did we get that from, sweetie?
We had a caller that called in on the last broadcast that we did with WJMS, and a listener had that question. She had asked you a question about something specific, and she wanted to know if that was a deal breaker with her, wanting to go into a relationship.
Exactly. And my comment to her was, there are some things are deal breakers, but then there are some things that break the deal. And so out of that statement, that anointed statement, came a topic. Because for many people there are deal breakers, but then there are things that break the deal. And so we're going to share some of those things, and we're not going to put them in the category for you whether it's a deal breaker or whether they break the deal, because every situation is different. And so we dare not to try to put you in a box or put people in a box as it relates to things that they experience, things that they like, things that they dislike, things that they're not sure about, and say that this right here is a deal breaker, or this right here can break the deal. You know what your deal breakers are, and you know what things do break the deal. And so we're going to discuss a litany of things on this evening. That's a big word. We're going to discuss some things on this evening. That's just going to be so awesome, man. I'll tell you, listen, get on. You can send us while we're talking. Send your questions. If we catch them, we'll acknowledge them. We'll identify them. If not, you can go to our email.
Yeah, we are a blendedfamily@gmail.com.
Yes, we are blendedfamily@gmail.com. And you can ask your question there. Some questions you might don't know. You might don't want others to know that you don't want to ask that question. To me, any question is a good question.
Yeah.
Any dumb question is a question not asked.
Exactly.
And so we're going to be talking again about deal breakers versus things that break the deal. Over the last couple of months, we've been talking about children. And so that's one of those things that can be either a deal breaker or a thing that breaks the deal. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that, because that's a topic that we can just discuss on and on and on about. And I want to make sure that we cover a lot of the other different things that we will be discussing on this evening. But we want to start off with children. And so
we're not doing the statistics.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go through. I'll give us some of the statistics that we always do.
Okay. 42% of adults have at least one step relative, with 30% indicating they have a step or half sibling. Now, we know we don't really like the term step, but this is, from the census.
It's
from
a statistic.
What we got, so it's a statistic.
Exactly.
The second one, the 1990 U.S. Census stated that there would be more blended families than original families by the year 2000.
By the year 2000. Did you just hear that statistic? The 1990 U.S. Census stated that there will be more blended or step families than original families by the year 2000. You know we're in 2017. So you know that what they projected has been far succeeded. What they don't even believe the projections right now, because it's almost 3 out of every 4 families. And so we just want to share these statistics because a lot of them are alarming, but they're impactful as well, because it gives us insight to where we at and where we need to go in order to produce the families that God intended for us to produce.
And then our last one is 75% of step families complain of not having access to resources as a step family, according to a recent Step Family Foundation survey of 2,000 web questionnaires.
So this is what they did. They wanted to find out, what was the census. So they got 2,000 folks, 2,000 families, a web just random questionnaire, sent it out, and the response was 75% of step families complain of not having access to resources as a step family. This is important. Not only is it important, but it's alarming, because you're going into a dynamic, you're combining certain systems together to make one system, but you don't even have the resources available at your fingertips in order to do or be effective in what it is that you want to do. If you want to be a doctor, there are resources. If you want to be a lawyer, there are resources. If you want to bodybuild, there are resources. Everything that you want to do, there's a lot of resources. But when it comes to one of the institutions, that the biggest institution in the land, which is the family, in specific, the blended family, there aren't a lot of resources there. And so you have a lot of people that are just so excited about in the blender, because we are a resource. We're not the resource, but we are a resource that allows them to get information, to get understanding, to get illumination and revelation, so that now they can produce again the family that God intended for them to produce.
And then not only that, getting the resources from someone that you know.
Exactly.
And that some people see on a regular basis.
Exactly. That's helpful. We like it, but it's not always necessary.
Right.
But we want to make it available.
Right.
And so, again, our background is, my wife, she had 3 girls. I had a son. We came in, we was the baby Brady bunch. And, we brought our families together. And here we are 19, 20 years later, successful. And so we just want to share with you guys things that we've learned over the years, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the not so good, the indifferent, all of those things, the great, the awesome. We want to share with you guys all of that, so that you can take what we've learned and experienced and grown from and overcame, that you don't have to go down the same road. And so, again, we love sharing with you guys every Tuesday at 7:30 on In the Blender. It's just been awesome. But tonight we're going to be talking again about deal breakers versus things that break the deal. And so one of the biggest deal breaker or things that break the deal is this: do you want children? Because a lot of people going into this process or going into the blended family, they don't have that discussion. And sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, it's important to have that discussion. Don't just assume that the person that you're intending to marry wants children.
Or don't want them.
Or don't want children. Don't assume anything. Ask. Because it's important, because sometimes people put their best face forward. And sometimes they may act like they want kids, but really they don't. Sometimes they really want kids, but don't know how to act with kids. And so you have to ask certain questions, because if you go down that road and say, I do or I will, and then you find out contrary to what you thought, that could be a deal breaker. Well, no, actually, that's something that broke the deal.
Well, it could be either way, because it depends on the individuals.
Exactly.
Right. So it could be a deal breaker, or it could break the deal.
Exactly.
So it's either or.
It just
depends on, the person or the people.
Because we've seen it. We've seen people that have gotten into a relationship, and one person really didn't want the child, and guess what? It broke the deal.
Yeah.
Then we've seen some that it was a deal breaker, but through the course of their relationship, they learn how to work through that. So again, we're just sharing information with you guys that's relevant, that's important. But this is the biggest thing. Because we're talking about the blended family. So we're entering into this relationship with children.
Right.
Either one, exactly. Either one person has a child or children, or they both have a child or children.
Yeah.
And so this is important to understand, especially if you're going into this with a person that doesn't have a child.
Yeah.
Ours is almost similar because while I had a son, I didn't have him with me.
Right.
And so it was almost as if I didn't have a child.
Right.
And so going into this dynamic, I really didn't even know how to relate to kids. I was great with kids, and you guys heard me share this. If you didn't hear me share this, you got to go, was that last Saturday?
Which one?
No, last Tuesday. I talked about that a little bit. Last Saturday and last Tuesday, I talked about my relationship with my son. And so you need to tune into that because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But I didn't have the best relationship with my son. And it wasn't because we didn't have a good relationship. It was because the time and the space of our relationship.
Right.
My son was over 1,000 miles away. And so I couldn't just go down the street and take a drive or hop on the bus or the metro to go see him. I had to make a lot of adjustments to be able to see my son. And so those dynamics was a lot different. But because of that, I was good with kids up until 2 years old. I was the man. You got a child that's a baby to two, a newborn to two, I'll be the guy for you. But after 2 years old, I was no good with kids. And my wife soon found out I was no good at kids. But I learned because it was my passion, it was my desire, it was my heart's desire to be the best dad possible.
But I didn't know that at first though until I saw over the years it became a pattern. I was like, wait a minute, how come when they little, you hold them, you play with them, you talk to them, but then as they got older, it's like you had like this thing about you where it was like you didn't want to be bothered at all.
Yeah,
and I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know what was going on.
And again, because we never had that conversation. We conversated around it, but we didn't conversate about it. And let me say that again. We conversated around it, but we didn't conversate about it. And a lot of people, they're conversating around topics,
right?
But they're not conversating about the topics. So when you go into this thing and you go into this dynamic, guess what happens? You find out stuff that you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that. But that's because you really didn't want to know. It was good for you to know around it, but it wasn't good enough for you to know about it. And so because of that, man, it took some work, because I love kids. Kids love me. Anybody, ask my God kids, they watching right now. They talk about me.
Hi, Ethan. Hi, Allison.
I be the man in their life. And so, I was good with kids. But again, that can be a deal breaker or that can be something that break the deal. The second one is, can we talk about money? We got a lot to say about that one. Listen, for some people that's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
For others, that can break the deal.
Well, tell the difference first, real quick, about what's the difference between deal breaker and breaking the deal, in case somebody don't know.
A deal breaker is something you already come into the relationship saying, if this comes along, if this here, we done. That's a deal breaker.
Already a preconception.
It's already it's already preconceived. It's already a preconceived notion that if she gained 20 pounds,
of all these things that
we done.
This happened, that's it.
If he lose some teeth, we done. If he lose that 6-figure job, we done.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Those are deal breakers.
Right.
And those are kind of some of the funny things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's true though.
But it's true.
Have,
for some people, deal breakers are, stupid stuff. Like one of the things that, like, for me, coming into this thing, I'll share a little bit about myself. I just love some hairy legs, boy. You ain't had no hairy legs? That was a deal breaker. My wife had them old pretty smooth legs. I was like, girl, you gotta grow some hair on them things.
Like, nope, I shave my legs every day.
Oh my God.
Get used to it.
That was a deal breaker for me. What? Long hair? Oh my God. That was a deal breaker. But watch this. A lot of those deal breakers, they come from stuff that we experienced when we was young. Stuff that we saw when we were young, growing up. Stuff that we heard when we were young, growing up. Those things that now formulated deal breakers, either we experienced it, we heard it, or we saw it. And so for me, I'll never forget, man, I had this third grade teacher. Boy, I had the biggest crush on this third grade teacher. She had this long hair, and she was light skinned, and she had hairy legs. And if you ain't meet those criteria for me,
dumb. Keep moving.
It was a deal breaker. And so, but no, at the end of the day, sweetheart, those are kind of deal breakers people have. I've heard women say, if their eyebrows, yes, that was funny. If their eyebrows don't look a certain way, it's a deal breaker. If they don't have long eyelashes, it's a deal breaker. If you don't have muscles, it's a deal. All these things are deal breakers. You know, but you ain't talking about the individual. You're not talking about what you're going to build. We're just talking about deal breakers versus things that break the deal. What are some things that break the deal? Again, but they can just be deal breakers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you got abuse, you got neglect, you got, and we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff, so I don't want to really go into that right now.
No, I just wanted you to kind of explain that, not like particularly what can be a deal breaker or something that break the deal, just what's the difference in a deal breaker and things that break the deal.
It's such a fine line. Let me say that. Deal breakers versus things that break the deal can be such a fine line.
And it depends on
on the people and the relationship.
Right. Okay.
But we just want to share with you guys some of these because it's some things that people just don't discuss. Or they wait till after they marry and discuss them. And then now it's almost, they feel like it's too late. But it's never too late. It's never too late. And so we want to discuss those things. We want to bring some things to the forefront. But can we talk about money? What do you mean by that? How is it earned? How is it spent? How is it saved? And how is it handled? That can be a deal breaker, and that can be something that break the deal. Because watch this. I'm not the money dude. This is the money person in the household right here. She is the money person. I have no problem with understanding that she is the money person. Because for me, that can't break the deal. But for her, it can be a deal breaker. And so she's great with money. She's great with finances. That's a part of her background. And so I believe in whoever has the strength in the area, you let that person be the strength.
Yeah.
You let that person do what they do. You know, there's no pride thing as it relates to us because there's some things that I'm good at or a little better than she is that she allows me to do. And so because we have that mutual respect for each other, we know how to function in that. But again, can we talk about money? Because some people
don't want to talk, can't talk about
exactly.
it.
Some people
don't want.
I was one of them people that couldn't talk about it,
didn't want to talk about it,
and wasn't going to talk about it.
And would be mad if I asked you about it.
What? What you mean?
I got paid. Was your check?
It was amount.
Can I see it?
No.
This ain't gonna work. Oh, Lord.
And so guess what? That can be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Or it can be something that break the deal, depending upon how big it is. You know what I'm saying? Depending upon how people are mismanaging money and how they're doing things, and you know, all those things become either deal breakers or things that break the deal. And so we just want to highlight some things because we want to spark conversation.
Right.
We want to spark some things that can now allow you to sit down with your family because we know people are dealing with this. We know people are dealing with this every single day, blended families. Because guess what? It's important because you were used to handling your money one way. Right. They were used to handling their money another way. And now you're coming into
their own account. You
exactly.
Your account.
And sometimes that's important. Sometimes that is important. But that's not what we want to shoot for.
Right.
That's not what we shoot for. We want to make that clear. But sometimes you just mess money up. You can't mix your money with mine. Because you're going to go spend all the money and we ain't going to have nothing. So we got to make sure that we keep some divide. But again, that's to each household.
Right.
And you got to know where you guys are in that dynamic and in that experience.
Right.
But can we talk about money? Can we talk about how it's earned? What do you do for a living? Why your spouse don't know what you do for a living? How you making money? You know, how is it spent? Can you show them, you know, a bank account? Can you show them bank ledger statements? Can you show them receipts of how the money is spent? She knew every 2 weeks, guess what? Child support was coming out. That's how that was being spent. Certain things she knew was going on. I mean, just let's keep it real. But they should know that. Your spouse should know those things. How is it being saved? Are we saving? Are we trying to save? Are we attempting to save? Are we making preparations to save? All these things should be discussed. Why? Because they're either deal breakers or they're things that break the deal.
And just because one person is better at doing the finances, you still want to have that spouse involved in, you know, what's being spent. You know, create a spreadsheet and show like all the bills, what the bills are for the month, how much each bill is, and present it to, you know, that spouse, whether it's every 2 weeks that the money is coming in and bills is being paid, or monthly. You know, you still want them involved. Just because the one person is the one that actually do it, you still want to involve that spouse so that they'll know what's going on with the money.
I get a spreadsheet. I get a spreadsheet like clockwork to let me know what is need to be paid and when it's need to be paid. How much and by what date.
Yep.
And so I get that spreadsheet every 2 weeks to let me know exactly what we need to do in this household financially to cover what we need to cover. And so that's important. Can we talk about sex? Yeah, and that's what the girl said. Can we talk about sex? Can we talk about sex? That can be a deal breaker, and that can be something that breaks the deal. Sex is huge in relationship. It's paramount. It's humongous. It's the elephant in the room.
Okay, now, so I got a question about this one then.
Go ahead.
Okay, so can we talk about sex? Is you talking about once they already married, or when they're getting ready to get married?
Both. You need to talk about sex beforehand. Because
So when they engage and they have, okay.
Yes, you got the date set. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking about 5 years from now we're going to get married. No, you got the date set. You got the date set. It's on the calendar. You already got the person who's going to minister the marriage. You already got the venue. You already got, you got things in place. You go and get the license. Now we need to talk about sex. Because we're talking about blended families. So it's already apparent that you guys are already done some sex. It's already apparent that somebody knows something about sex. But can we talk about it? Why? Because there is a lot that deals with sex. And you go into this dynamic, you go into this relationship, and you don't deal with that, oh man, that can mess your family up. What you talking about? We need to talk about the frequency of sex. How often we gonna do this thing? You need to talk about the preference. You know what I'm saying? And this is a family show, so I can't talk about the preference. But you need to talk about the preference. You need to talk about the fantasies. You know what I'm saying? Because some people got fantasies. If you won't discuss that, guess what? How they know? Now all of a sudden you done tripped out on them because they not doing certain things that you got in your mind that you never discussed with them whether we gonna partake in this or not. Then you talk about we talk about masturbation, pornography, expectations. You know, am I just gonna get mine or you gonna get yours or we gonna get ours together? You gotta talk about all that stuff. My wife said, Jesus, yes, this is real. This is important, man. We're here to help assist the blended family. And there are things in blended, I've talked with people, male and female, husband and wife. My wife will tell you, we've sat down with countless number of families on relationship issues in the blended family. Yeah. And this has been one of them. And so we're not just making some stuff up. This is big. If you don't believe me, ask your spouse because you ain't talking about it. And so we need to talk about this thing. We need to talk about bad sex. What's bad sex? Because you already been exposed to some things. So you know what's good to you and you know what's bad to you. Well, we need to discuss that. We need to discuss low sex drive. High sex drive, low sex drive. Discuss all those things. Because guess what? Again, we're talking about deal breakers versus things that break the deal. And guess what? Sex can be a deal breaker, or it could be something that breaks the deal. And so we want to make sure that you guys are talking about it, that it becomes a conversation piece. Oh my God, baby, time is flying.
I see.
How much time we will spend with the family. And what I mean by that, I'm talking about your siblings, your in-laws, your cousins, your relatives. How much time are we going to spend with them? That could be a deal breaker, or it can be something that breaks the deal. What do you mean by that? We talked about our dynamic. My wife comes from a huge family. Guess what? They love spending time with each other. They can spend time with each other every single day. I just had me and my sister. We're 10 years apart. She don't know me. I don't know her.
So you used to be jealous.
So I used to spend time by myself. So now my wife want to spend time with all these people. Guess what? I just want to spend time with my wife. I don't want to spend time with all other people. Tell your people go home. Tell them stop calling. Tell them stop dropping by.
You going again?
You going again? They haven't. Then they just had something last week. My God, why they can't never come over here? Why you gotta always go see them? It could be a deal breaker, or it could be something that breaks the deal. And so this is important, guys. We wanted to share with you guys. Listen, you got to discuss that. My wife is used to spending a lot of time with her family. She loves her family. I love my family, but guess what? My family knows.
No, you antisocial. That's what
I'm antisocial.
I'm not. Hey,
I'm not antisocial. Hey, Joe. They know, but they know me. And it's so funny.
It's different though, because I mean, I've always been like a family oriented person. We always, I was always about family. Even growing up, it was always a whole lot of us.
Cause it is a whole lot of y'all.
And I'm talking about even when we were little, I'm talking about like cousins. Everybody used to always be together.
It's a whole lot of them. It's 10 plus. So they used to spend time with each other all the time. It don't get old. For me, it got old. And so that can be a deal breaker, or it could be something that breaks the deal. Because guess what? I don't have that problem. I love being with my family now. I had to learn how to do that.
Yes.
There was something I had to learn how to do. I had to put myself in that position to enjoy it. Because I had a lot of cousins. And we were like siblings, but they weren't my siblings, but we were almost like siblings because we all grew up together. We all spent time over each other's house. Some of us spent summers, some of us spent years living with each other. So that was my family, but you guys were actually siblings. And so it made a big difference. And so that could be a deal breaker or something that breaks the deal. Oh my God.
Wait,
household chores.
It's only 2 minutes left.
Household chores. Deal breaker or something that breaks the deal. Let me tell you something. I am a clean person. Ask my nephews. Don't touch my walls. Sit down softly on my furniture, or I'm gonna bust your head to the white meat. Take your shoes off when you walk in my house.
You so bad though. People they don't even want to come see us. We went there a period. They was like, oh no, we don't want to have nothing over there. That's why I always had to go somewhere else, because they were scared to come to our house. They couldn't sit down. They couldn't stand up.
Don't touch my balls. We don't drink colored drinks in my house. We drink clear drinks. Ginger ale, water, lemonade. Because if you waste something, you're going to clean it up. And if you waste it, it better not spot up. No, but chores. I grew up in a household where my father was like a sergeant. He did the white glove check. We had a bunch of wood furniture in our house. The man wanted to make sure stuff was clean. Not only that, he was so funny, I had to wash the car every week. Listen, I didn't wash the car. I was a detailer at the age of 8. That's why I got friends that detail. Rome Salon, I love you, man. Listen, hey, I don't detail stuff because I was a detailer at 8 years old. I can detail with the best of them because that's the way my father was. That dude loved how things look. He liked his stuff right. So chores. You need to discuss who's going to clean what. How often is going to clean? Is going to be clean. When is it going to be clean? How is it going to be clean? Those are things that, because you go into a relationship, you don't know when she take her drawers, her bloomers, her panties, her underwear, you don't know she drop it right on the floor.
Then you ain't talking about me.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, no.
You definitely ain't talking about me.
Let me make that clear. I ain't talking about my wife. I'm talking about discussions that I done had with folks. That they like, man, she don't pick it, make it clear, make it plain. She don't even pick her drawers up, bruh. You know what I mean? And guess what? And she'll say the same thing. He come in, he drop his clothes right on the floor. As soon as he walk in the door, he just start taking off stuff, dropping it. Guess what? That can be a deal breaker, or it can be something that breaks the deal. And so, oh my God, time is going. Listen, guys, we're going to have to pick back up on this next week. Listen, it's so much we want to share with you guys. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning into us.
Thanks, everyone,
The
for
Blender
tuning
with
in.
Brandon and Madeline Hyman. I'm telling you, this month of August is going to be off the chain. It's going to be fire, lit, like that. Whatever the young people are saying, that's what it's going to be. And so you want to make sure that you tune in, share the broadcast. Just what we shared this evening, somebody need to hear about this because somebody you know is experiencing this. If it's not you, it's somebody you know.
Yeah.
And so make sure that you not only viewing this, but you're sharing this.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, this is a game changer, man. We're sharing stuff with guys, and I'm telling you, it's been a blessing. People across this country, across the globe, are now being blessed through In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And so we're excited with you guys. We love you guys. Hey, Jamie. Thanks for tuning in to us. And so we're just excited. Sweetheart, listen, if you guys have any questions about the deal breakers, because we're going to pick back up on this next week.
Next week.
If you want to know what in your life is a deal breaker or what can break the deal, how can they reach us?
Send it to us email. weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
Give it to them one more time.
weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
Listen, we're expanding this thing. We got some announcements going to come up next week. Some things, other things that we're doing to share this word with you guys.
Maybe not next week.
Soon, real soon, we're going to be sharing some things. But I'm excited. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Until next week, God bless.
Peace,